to know that I should really thank Kelly. Kelly, Matt, can I just say she's kind of like not only the worker, the brains, the whole bit behind. But anyway, you got brains too. But
and I'm the smart one though.
Because you chose her. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, thank you for having this today.
Oh, very welcome.
I just wanted to underscore, number one, I think Dean's amazing. And I think we will be so lucky and fortunate to have him. But I want to also say something about Senator Swadzynski here, Swad, that as a teacher that taught, not directly with him, but basically with him for years, and I've been in your classroom probably, 10 times speaking, and just to be part of you and see that enthusiasm in the classroom, and have him teach social studies all those years, and talk about government from an objective standoff standpoint. Now he's living it, and he's doing it, which I think is powerful. And he's not going to like what I'm going to say next, but just in looking at what he's done in his record, and then talking to my good friend John Schultz, who is like a guru kind of, he likes to sit back and try to like get his hands in politics from the sides, but Schultz is like, Swads has this incredible opportunity in 2020 to be in leadership of the Senate, which you do. And so whatever it takes to get the support around Steve to help him get there, because I think he'd be powerful to be in leadership at the state Senate. So just a word about that. And you're running again in 2020, and so we'll all be right there for you and working hard for you, and appreciate you being here as well. I've been saying this before, and some of you have heard me at debates, so I won't repeat all that, but 99% of all Brad's and my votes are the same, in police, parks, potholes, and all that. But the areas that we're deviating in are pretty significant. I think they have to do with vision for going forward, and that idea that Eden Prairie is not an island, that Eden Prairie doesn't succeed if Minneapolis fails. Eden Prairie doesn't succeed if Minnesota fails or the country fails, and we have great success, or amazing success. And I'm proud of that. I've been part of the City Council, as you all know, 22 years, and I think our legacy is why all of you live here and love Eden Prairie. But that being said, there are these issues, and I would say nationally seeping in, but it's appropriate they're seeping in, because it has to do with the fate of my grandchildren and my children living on this earth. And it's global climate change, and it's gun violence that's haunting, our future, as SWAT experienced so directly this last week. And it's LRT coming into this town, bringing with it the potential of millions and millions of dollars of economic advantage. And on every single one of those issues, and I could go on 2 or 3 more, Brad has specific votes where he's the one standing out on the side, and the 4 votes on the other side are against him. It's 4 signing on to the Paris Accord. We've been for zoning, pre-zoning, gun stores away from schools and churches, and we've been for municipal consent for LRT, and Brad's been against all that. So those are the reasons, not just that Nancy and I are friends and she likes me and I like her, but she's endorsing me because of that, and so is Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom. The entire rest of the council that's not running, which is a little bit sneaky, but whatever, the entire rest of the council is endorsing me that's not running, as well as Debbie Gotel, County Commissioner, who is going to be working closely with our city with LRT. She's got a letter coming in the next 2 weeks saying that the relationship I have with her will be critical to building and growing out the LRT process. So there are some huge differences about vision for our future. Brad will say at any of his, at the debates you probably heard that, he's the business guy, and he's the guy that will go over the line item in the budgets. Well, you know what? I'm not the business guy. My record is exactly the same on his, and I've been pro-business, and I can cite all kinds of specific areas. But he claims to try to grab that because he's the engineer, whatever that means. We hire engineers, but and I will also say he's a very nice guy. But that being said, I'm the one that I think represents the vision. So I'll stop there and just. Are there any questions that any of you have? None? Okay, so I'm just that hand went up really fast.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, because you piqued my excitement about LRT, and I've been all about it for years, selfishly, because it's thriving in Minneapolis, and people don't know when I talk to them. They don't know anything about it. So how can we generate excitement in Eden Prairie about LRT?
So in our polling, coming out about 78% of all the Eden Prairie people support it. So I think the excitement's kind of there. But anytime, the problem is in the papers, all you see is the negative, because it always comes out like, oh, and if it's just in the paper this week, another stumbling block, that certain funding, the federal funding's not, I guess, signed on the dotted line yet. But when Kathy and I were in D.C. with Amy Klobuchar and Tina, and I asked both about LRT, like, is it really going to happen, right? And both of them came back with yes. In fact, the transportation bill passed. It did not this year designate projects, but it's going to lead them to almost shovel-ready, which we're not shovel-ready, but we are so much more way up on the priority list than all the other places across the nation. So we're going to be funded. And I know there will be some future stumbling blocks, and it keeps pushing it off. I think we're probably looking at 2021 now. I don't know if that's breaking ground or open. It's coming. And it will be a really good thing for Eden Prairie. Yes?
Can I share also, last weekend our son was home, and our son lives in Manhattan, and his goal is once he and his fiancee decide to have children and moving back to Minnesota, and they were looking Hopkins, St. Louis Park, places in there because they're used to that. And then he saw what was happening with all that construction with the buses and where the old Kinko's was, and we talked about that being an LRT, and he goes, wow, I maybe would move to Eden Prairie. And that's just, you're going to get young people that, super good jobs, and,
right.
because they want to live where there's an LRT.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to do. Your home values are going to stay up because the young people will come in and want to live here.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, real quickly, Brad and I, for the very first time, went face-to-face for an endorsement. We've done it now twice, technically. He's likely going to get the chamber endorsement. Don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing. But we went head-to-head with the MAR, Minneapolis Area Association of Realtors, and we interviewed both of us. He was at 8:40, I was at 10 o'clock. Went through the whole spiel, and I got it. And I've been endorsed. And PJ got the endorsement. So, as well as Kathy Nelson. And MAR is not the most liberal Democrat association. It truly probably leans more Republican. But all three of us, I believe, talked about people. And if people want to move into Eden Prairie, then realtors do well. If people don't want to move into Eden Prairie, obviously it's hard to sell a house. And all three of us represent a message, a vision of really centering government around people. And I say that often to people that, Brad and I start at different places. He starts at budgets and line items and cutting taxes. And I started, what do people want? What do people need? What are people willing to pay for? We end up about the same place. But I started in with people. And I said that when I went to interview for MAR, and then I got the endorsement. So I think people get that. That resonates. So, another question or two, and then I'm going to turn it over to probably Steve quickly, just for a comment, and then PG. Jan, you had a question?
Okay. One comment. An engineer is good, but when I was on the council with Ron, he would do the math in his head and say, well, but the percentage.
It's only sixth grade math, but it was.
And so I love that someone can think on their feet, which Ron is able to do better than his opponent. Okay, and so my question, Ron, is something that has come up in our house is the concern about, are you doing subsidized housing, are you doing cheap housing, and it's going to bring in an element that's going to raise crime. We have a deputy sheriff in our household.
So the word affordable housing is pejorative, and we have to really work at that, understanding that word, because it does symbolize to a lot of people subsidized housing, Section 8 housing. I don't think that's all bad in and of itself, because I think every community needs a price point continuum. And we have about 700 Section 8 housing units right now. Most of them are structural Section 8 housing, some of them are voucher. And I would say that's probably the max that we'll ever get. We'll actually maybe go down a little bit in years to come, but affordable housing has to do with the area average of 7-county metro area, average home income level for a family of 4. And that number then drives how much could the average person at the 50% level of that, how much could they afford in terms of a payment toward rent or a house. So therefore that number comes out, and I can get this off a little bit, but it's around $48,000, $50,000 a year that you've got to make to buy an affordable house at the 50% level. Those are teachers and police officers. I was talking to 2 street crew guys, I get my days mixed up, yesterday I think, who were, at the city open house. and they work on our streets, and they said can't live in the city. We'd like to, but we live way out in west on Highway 94 or somewhere out there, St. Michael. Because that's where they can afford to live on their salary, and they're the ones plowing our streets. And they're hardworking, working their plus overtime, 50 hours a week sometimes in the winter, and they can't afford to live in our town. That's what affordable housing is. So do we have plans for it? Yes, we have. Everything that we can do, anytime we can get an affordable housing component to every single new project we do. And we have a couple exciting ones coming in. We have the Presbyterian Homes rebuild, which is on the kitty corner from the mall. They're going to be tearing down Broadmoor, which is a problem because they're getting rid of 500 some people living in there. And that's what's called organic affordable, because it's NOAA actually naturally occurring affordable housing. Thank you. I was like, I don't do well with this. Naturally occurring affordable housing. Thank you. And NOAA housing, because that building was not being reworked on over the years, because they knew they were going to tear it down. Therefore, they let it deteriorate. Therefore, the rents stay down. Therefore, it's renting right now at $700, $800, $900 a month. Those people can't find anything in Eden Prairie for that. But on that site will go a new building that will have affordable housing for about 200 units. And then over by Smith Cafe, the old Dunn Brothers there, a building's going to go out in front that will have somewhere around 200, have you heard, I don't know, I think it's 200 or so units of affordable housing there. So we put them in where we can. It's hard. It's really hard in a city like ours because our land values are so expensive. It's easy to get affordable housing out in Marshall, Minnesota, but then they don't have jobs. No, but I mean, it's just hard to get the affordable housing in places where the jobs are. But all metropolitan suburban communities are working at that. And I mean, it's not just that we have to do our share. I think it's really healthy for our community if we do.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else final? I don't want to keep you sitting. Steve, just want to say a comment, Swad. Thank you so much for being here. But
vote for Ron and PG and Phillips.
Yeah, so my daughters Kirsten and Jenny, and then my grandchildren were the twins running around. Thanks for coming. It's so nice.
How nice that your family actually likes you.
No. Well, that's not necessarily saying they like me, but they are here.
There's a meal.
PG. Oh, by the way, PJ did tell you this, or Will, he doesn't have to. But I'm very proud of it. I don't know what it was. You probably know, a couple years ago. But I've been really impressed with PG over the years and sitting on the planning. So you run HRDC and anything else. But just in getting to know him, and he's the former chief technology officer at ADC, started all these tech companies. And I just saw in him not only kind of an open-minded, I guess you'd say more liberal maybe view of people, but he also had this other cool side that would be attractive to Republicans with all the business piece. And so I said, you really ought to run for council. So we met, and this is now history.
So I'll tell you that story since we're on time. First of all, thank you so much for that exciting summit. Okay, thank you guys. Really appreciate inviting me. Now I know I have to go to more chamber event. That's the only way I can invite you. That's where I met. So going back to that story, so what happened is we were in a strategy meeting with a community foundation. And in the breakfast meeting, 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and Ron came to me and said, hey, we should talk. This is exactly what Ron did. And I said, what about? I said, oh, let's have a cup of coffee. So within 5 minutes, I'm a pretty techie guy, send him a meeting request. He said, let me know when it is. And within a week, we met. And then he said, I want you to run for the election. And said, what? That was not my plan. I never thought of running public election. So I said, let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife and family. And then I started talking to a lot of people. I talked to Nancy. I talked to Mayor Nancy and Sherry. Talked to all the people I can think of. And they all said, go for it. We want you to run. So that's the reason I'm here. And then I started thinking and said, wow, this is a great way to give back. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story. And I think it's, I came this country 46 years ago. Okay, I came from India, those of you who haven't figured it out. I was 18 years old. Now you know my age. I couldn't speak a word of English. I didn't have any education. I didn't have any money. And my sister is really the smart one in my family. I think it's a maths kid. They asked it about the environment. So tell me a little bit about my sister. She's a Harvard PhD in applied mathematics and ocean and fisheries. And she spent 30 years working around the world about ocean water and environment and so on. So when the kids asked, what do you think about the environment? I said, don't believe, one thing, I believe my sister, and she's the scientist. I know that's a long time ago. And she believes in it, and she tells me every day, the ocean water temperature rising, we have a problem and we have to solve it. So she brought me here. She was doing Harvard, and then thank God I had a little bit of brain from my parents, I think, genetically, and able to do good in school. I went to community college, worked in Chinese restaurant. My first job was working in Chinese restaurant, washing dishes, and I got a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I don't know, I like engineers. I'm just Italian. They're smart people, they're good. But also able to get full scholarship to my master's degree. And I finished my master's. And I'm one of those guys transformed from an engineer to a businessman. And I'm lucky enough, I guess something, I don't know, my personality or something, people like me and able to run a lot of companies. At the age of 35, I was lucky from nothing. At the age of 35, I was a VP of a $1 billion company. And it's all luck. And that's the other reason I'm running. Because
Did you own that $1 billion company?
What's that?
Did you own that $1 billion?
No, I
I want to
didn't.
talk to you about a campaign contribution.
I wish I did. I've made a lot of people
Just
money. I
asking.
didn't make any money
Okay.
on the way. So I lost my thought now.
Sorry,
Anyway,
sorry.
no, that's okay. Please, that's okay. And so I was thinking back and said, all the today, you know how lucky I am standing here next to Dean Phillips, Ron and Senator, and all of you able to do this. It is a dream. This is a true American dream. And if people forget about what this country can do for people like me, right? And I'm not, sucking in the resources. I actually feel I contributed tremendously to this economy.
Yes.
I tremendously contributed. Jobs, money, I made people rich, and a lot of jobs, and technology, a lot of things that I'm able to do. That's all because of this. So that's the reason I'm running. And then I started learning more about the city. Right? I already knew generally, because I was in Human Rights and Diversity Commission, I'm really the chair of Community Foundation, so I have a little bit knowledge of the city. And I'm learning more, and I'm more passionate about more of all these things, because being here 20 years in Eden Prairie, raised two of my boys, we love it. We love the city. So I want to make sure this opportunity there, I want to make sure I think I can do a good job, and I want to make sure this continues the good thing going on the last 20 years. And that's one of the main reasons is that, I think we have a great city, and Ron and Sherry and Nancy and Kathy and Brad, they all done a great job in the last 10, 15 years. And there's a potential here could change everything. Our city council could change dramatically if we don't vote properly. We could close down the liquor store. We could lay off all those people while we are making $800,000 net profit on that, right? Or we could have some environmental issues. We could a lot of things we could do wrong. And I think is really for all of us to get out and vote and elect Ron, of course. And hopefully you elect me. And 2020 elect Senator here. I'll make sure I work for you, sir. You come to every event I have. Go ahead, ask me a question.
Thank you. You talked earlier when we were listening about engaging the minority communities, the several populations in this city. So how do you do that?
How do I do it?
Well, how do we get our minority populations more engaged?
Well, one of the things that we have done, and the one part of it, is called People First. I came up with that name. And I did that when I was
Jen might not know what
human.
the diverse. It's called People Fest and it's the old diversity on the prairie that he reinstituted and brought back.
No, because I don't live here anymore,
Okay,
but.
so let me just explain.
Thank you.
So I was in the human rights and diversity, and I was telling them, let's have a multicultural event. It's not just a minority. I mean, we have Swedish, we have Norwegian, we have African American. Every culture is, we need to celebrate. By the way, that day, People First, most interesting thing is the Russian ballet. I don't know how many of you saw that. That kids were awesome. I mean, I think the best performance those kids went on stage. So when you think People First minority means only the Somalians or Indian or Chinese, right? We're talking about all the cultures, celebration of a culture, right? And we need to have that more. The food, the art, the culture, and then we appreciate each other, right? And open.
Let me suggest this just to get people up and moving around. Keep asking questions. Keep coming up, asking. PG and I will be here. Swat, I'm not sure how long you can stay. I just wanted to acknowledge a couple things. My treasurer, Kurt Johnson, walked in, so thank you so much. And anybody ever heard of Soda Clothing?
Yeah.
The owner and founder is standing right here, a very famous young man. He was on my Facebook site as well. So Spencer Johnson, who's the director, founder, president, CEO, whatever, of Soda Clothing. Everything. So really nice. And then we just have so many people here that I really want to have you get up and meet each other. And then Dean Phillips, Eden Prairie Campaign Headquarters. How you describe yourself, and so they can reach out to you and connect.
I'm a field organizer with the Dean Phillips campaign. I grew up here in Eden Prairie. Swad was my government teacher in high school. I did not have Ron, but I remember you were at a point when I was there as well. So now I'm back in the community organizing for the Dean Phillips campaign.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Laura Haugen.
So reach out, and then they have an office now, not permanent, I mean they're renting down, so if you go down Pioneer Trail, almost before you get out of Eden Prairie, on the left side there, Hennepin Town Road, it's up in that strip mall, and they're in there.
East on Pioneer.
Yeah, so east going toward Bloomington, and then on the north side on the left, they have an office there that's open all the time, and it's busy. If you ever wanted to volunteer or go out and knock on a few doors, contact.
By Jerry's?
It's down from Jerry's.
And Katie, you're also, Katie, you're working with the Dean
I'm
Phillips.
working in the Excelsior office for Dean Phillips on Wednesdays. We've got a crew working there 24/7. There's somebody always there, and that's on Water Street, not Water Street. Second Street, sorry. Second Street and School Road in Excelsior. So that's where you can really feel another great buzz of excitement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks both for what you're doing. And just a final comment before I lose all of you. The biggest thing that I think, like PG and I, sometimes people ask what you can do, and right now we're trying to reach people by different ways, mailings and ads, and so obviously we need money, whatever. But also Facebook, we're exploding that site out as best we can. So any of you that are incredibly techier than I am, which is all of you. If you go out to my Facebook or PG's and like it and share it, that's how it begins to organically spread. And especially any of those sites, like I just got endorsed by Mayor Nancy Terrell-Lukens, and that now has 2,600 hits on it. But again, I know that advertising gets out even more than that. Anyway, go out and do that. I'm planning on Saturday, October, should have the date memorized, 27th, whatever that date is, from about 1 to 4 to do a leaflet drop. We're going to meet at, we're somewhere around like my house. I'll put it out on Facebook, but and then try to just go out with about 20 people and hit doors. So if you're available for that, anything you want to do?
I just want to say in terms of endorsement, Ron already mentioned to you that we got both endorsed by the Realtor Association. And I'm also the luckiest one to get endorsed by Mayor Nancy Luken and Sherry and many other, the Somalian community that we both get endorsed, and many other community leaders. I mean, we were kind of comparing. We don't see our opponent endorsed by anybody.
He's not claiming yet to have been endorsed. We're assuming that he could get Eric Paulson's if he wanted to, and I'm thinking that's probably toxic for him. No, seriously. And then I'm assuming he'll put, Jennifer Loon on there as his endorser. That's about it. I'm thinking, and I'm not. Supposedly, Andy Moeller has said he's been endorsed by the Johnson, the governor candidate, and I'm just thinking, would he really do that? And again, is that
Well,
necessarily?
I think that's benefit
great.
us, I think. I'm glad he
Yeah.
put that on his, all his literature, he said that, I think it will help me.
So anyway, again, thank you for being here. Stay, eat, drink, you know, fellowship, whatever. Swat, pick his brain before he takes off here, and yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here.